Happy Sunday, Bears fans. I'm Harrison Graham. Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. Coming up on today's show, we're going to build the perfect 2025 Chicago Bears coaching staff, in my opinion, based on who is available. We'll fill some key positions, and if this happens, I think the Bears will be in good position to have success starting next year. Before we get to that, hit that subscribe button. Bears don't play till tomorrow. Felt weird waking up on a Sunday and not having Bears football, but we'll be live for a Bears-Vikings watch party. I think we'll have a little preview episode go up tomorrow morning as well, so stay tuned for that. Bears-Vikings, Monday Night Football will be live. Of course, we go live every Monday and Thursday and game day anyway, so subscribe and join us for that daily coverage here on Chicago Bears Now. All right, head coach. I'm going Ben Johnson. He's my choice as the Bears' next head coach. Look, I just think that Ben Johnson is the best option based on who's available, based on the division you play in, and based on the quarterback you have in Caleb Williams. I think Ben Johnson gives you the best chance to reach big-time success with Caleb and with this team moving forward. We'll talk about Mike Vrabel in a second. Is he a safer option? I think he is. I think his floor is certainly higher. I think he's probably the fastest path to being like a 9-ish type of win team. But think about the division you're in and think about the coaches in this division. Minnesota, who you're going to see tomorrow night. Kevin O'Connell with Brian Flores as the defensive coordinator. That's a strong pairing. Think about Detroit. If you get Ben Johnson, that hurts Detroit, but Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn. If you have Mike Vrabel, I like Vrabel, but I'll take that Lions coaching staff. Green Bay, Matt LaFleur. Even Halfway as a DC has been solid. Like, to me, I think it's worth the risk of swinging big for a potential big-time head coach. I understand we don't know if Ben Johnson's going to be a great head coach. Obviously, it's up to the Bears to check off boxes in the interview process that they don't know about with Ben Johnson, because what we know, creative offensive guy. He's helped Jared Goff reach new heights, 3 straight years of top 5 offenses. I understand the personnel they have, but I think that type of guy gives you the best chance to maximize a player you just selected number 1 overall and get this offense to a place we've quite literally never seen in the history of the Chicago Bears franchise. So I would take the swing. Obviously, you could go with Mike Vrabel, and if they end up with Vrabel, I wouldn't be upset by it. Don't get me wrong. I think the floor would be higher, but I think the ceiling is likely lower, especially the division that this team is in the NFC North. So that would be my preference. I would go Ben Johnson. I would take the swing, even if it's a little bit more risky at the end of the day. Okay, defensive coordinator. Obviously, Robert Saleh got fired by the Jets. He would be my choice as the Bears' defensive coordinator. Him and Johnson share the same agent. So there'd be some kind of at least connection there, which I know we just went with that with Trace Armstrong. But not Trace Armstrong, guys. So in this case, I would be okay with it. I like Saleh. I like his style. Now, he does run a 3-4, so there would be schematic change. But I'm kind of okay with that at this point. Earlier this year, I was like, I don't know if I don't want to hire a 3-4 guy. But this defense has just gotten stale. So if you need to switch up the scheme in the front to change it up, I'd be okay with it. Now, certainly if you can find a 4-3 defense that has more aggressive principles in it, I certainly wouldn't have a problem with that. But I like the idea, if Ben Johnson's going to be your head coach, I like having a former head coach on this staff. Robert Saleh obviously wasn't great as a head coach in New York, but he sat in that chair. He understands those responsibilities. He could help Ben Johnson with some of those things of transitioning into a new role of being a head coach in the National Football League. I think he could do that and do that pretty well. He's been spending time with the Packers recently as well, helping them out since getting fired by the Jets. I like that. So Robert Saleh would be my top guy for defensive coordinator. My second guy would be Dennis Allen. He does run a 4-3. Dennis Allen, clearly not head coach material, but he's a proven defensive coordinator. He was under Sean Payton as their DC. He's had other defensive coordinator stops. Like, he's a high-level DC in this league. So also has been a former head coach, so he could assist Ben Johnson, like I said, in that regard. So like the idea of that. Basically, I like the idea of, if you're going first-time head coach, having a guy who's been a head coach before serving as your defensive coordinator, I think is a good balance and brings good valued experience to this coaching staff. Now we'll go back to offensive coordinator in just a moment, but I do want to tell you guys first about our sponsor, Prize Picks. Daily fantasy made easy at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get a $50 bonus when you play for just $5. I had my worst season long excuse me, fantasy football season ever. That's where Prize Picks comes into play. New lineups, different sports every single day. Can play with different players. You don't get stuck with, Christian McCaffrey as your first round pick who was injured the entire season. You can try different players out, and you set lineups of 2 or more players, and you pick more or less based on the Prize Picks stat projection. For example, you could go like Patrick Mahomes, 231.5 passing yards versus X team. Take more or less, or you could take Jamison Williams, 52.5 receiving yards, more or less. Points in basketball, rebounds, goals in hockey, all kinds of stats available. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. During the holiday season, you can win up to 200 times your money on certain entries. $10 to win 2,000. Think about how awesome of an opportunity that is. So check out PrizePicks today. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to take advantage of our deal. $5 when you play initially. Doesn't matter if you win or lose. You're going to get a $50 bonus straight into your account. Get started with Prize Picks today. Link is in the comments and in the description. Okay, offensive coordinator. Tanner Engstrand, who is the passing game coordinator for the Lions. He would be my first choice for OC. And you might be thinking, Tanner Engstrand, who is that? Well, a couple things. One, he's been working with Ben Johnson. They've been on the Lions staff for numerous years at this point in different roles. And two, Ben Johnson's going to call the plays, so you don't have to swing big for some hotshot offensive coordinator who's been a play caller before. Now, I do think something to consider here with Engstrand is if Ben Johnson leaves, Dan Campbell could just promote him, make him his new offensive coordinator and play caller, because obviously they would need a new play caller, and they might just want to do that internally to keep things kind of similar under Jared Goff. So that would certainly be a possibility. So there's a scenario where you wouldn't even get Engstrand, but he would be probably my top guy. A, Ben Johnson would know him. B, young guy, kind of on the Ben Johnson trajectory where, if he becomes a play caller down the road. And this would be a forward move from pass game coordinator to OC, even if he's not calling the plays, because it would be a title elevation in Chicago. Now, again, if the Lions offered him to make them the play caller, he would just stay in Detroit. And if that were the case, I would look elsewhere on Detroit staff at Hank Fraley, their offensive line coach. Think he knows what he's doing, that offensive line? It's only the best in football. Now, when you have talent, that helps. But you could give him an OC title. He could help your offensive line out. I would like that influence. Chris Morgan, obviously, has been a disaster for the most part, I would say. Maybe Fraley could give him a run game. He could help with some of the run game concepts as well. So you could certainly do that. Maybe you bring it. Maybe you keep it Thomas Brown as another option. Maybe he could stay on as offensive coordinator. Just to kind of keep some continuity with Caleb Williams. But, again, I would want Ben Johnson's offense and his play calling. So if bringing Thomas Brown would mess with that at all, I certainly wouldn't want that. But certainly an option if you couldn't get Engstrand or someone like that. Okay, there you go. Building the perfect Bears coaching staff for 2025. A couple other names to just ponder. Eric Bieniemy left his post at UCLA looking to get back into the NFL. I would love him as running backs coach. I don't want him as my play caller necessarily, but with Ben Johnson, maybe you make him running backs coach, run game coordinator, something like that. I would be behind that. I think he's a good football coach. I don't think he's going to have to rebuild his stock a little bit to get back into the head coach interview mix, but running backs coach, run game coordinator, I certainly think he could be an interesting name in that regard as well. Joe Philbin, keep an eye on him as a potential offensive line coach. Him and Ben Johnson overlapped in Miami when they were both there. Philbin's currently the O-line coach for the Raiders, but if they blow that up over there, he could be available. Former head coach, offensive line guru. I would certainly be intrigued by him as well. So keep an eye on a couple of those names right there in terms of potential staff members that could make sense if Ben Johnson is the head coach. So there you have it. Perfect Bears coaching staff. Be sure to hit that subscribe button as you get on out of here. We'll probably have a video in the morning, like I said, and then for sure we'll be live for our watch party tomorrow night. And I want to hear from you guys in the comments. Build your ideal 2025 Chicago Bears coaching staff. Start with head coach, fill out some coordinator positions. If you want to fill out some position coaches, go ahead on that regard. Obviously, I didn't do every position or anything like that. Kind of hard to project all of that, but filled out some of the big spots. Drop some names for me in the comment section below. My name is Harrison Graham. We'll see you guys soon here on Bears Now.